Hey everyone, welcome to episode 283 of the All Dolphins podcast. I am AP Poop, whatever you want to call me. I am joined again by Dave Hyde of the South Florida Sun Sentinel, who is having a very, very busy day on this Monday, May 6th, Panthers, and we're going to be talking some Dolphins though. Dave, how are you?
I'm well. I'm well. I just listened to Pat Riley going to the Panthers game, and always up for Dolphin talk. So, um, always interesting topics with the Dolphins.
Yes, there are, and we're going to get to a few of them today. On my list, I have Tyreek, Odell Beckham Jr., of course, uh, schedule. Maybe we'll get into the Tua contract. Who knows? Um, I guess we should start with the Odell Beckham signing. Tough to say anything bad about it, considering it's low risk, high reward type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, look for the three and a half, 3.5 million, 3 million, up to 8.5 million, 8.25 million. I mean, um, see what those incentives are. I'd imagine they're hard to get, but for the role he's at, for the contract he's at, um, my question is the name is bigger than the game in Odell Beckham. Okay. I mean, you're getting a guy at the tail end of his career, which is sounds bizarre to say considering he's 31 and Tyreek Hill's 30 next year. But that's sort of where he's at. And so if you go into the expectation that, um, 35 catches, three touchdowns last year with Baltimore, yeah, you might get a little more in Mike McDaniel's offense, but if you're not getting them, the Odell Beckham of the New York Giants, who was electric on the field, and so if you're the general manager of the Dolphins, what you have to say is Odell Beckham going to be a pro down here. Remember, this was where the famous New York Giants boat ride took
Oh,
place,
mm-hmm.
and I've had countless sports executives down here talk about bringing the right people to South Florida, especially if they're coming at the end of their careers and especially if it's not for the money they're used to. So to me, that was the bigger question than look, everybody sees it's a system fit. Everybody sees for a third, they need a third receiver. But to me, it's more professional fit. How will that go?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm concerned with that maybe as much as I would be otherwise, because again, he's at the tail end of his career. He won the Super Bowl a couple years ago with the Rams, but tore an ACL during that game. Um, and I think he's in a situation, a point in his career. If you believe the reports that are out there, he took less money from other teams, from other offers. However, we should always point out
I
that
never believed. Yeah, right.
well, not only
The
that.
state tax, the state, kind
Thank
of area.
you.
The agent, he took less money. Well, okay. I mean, let's be serious, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not
No,
significantly less if it's less usually.
no, I agree. No, and the other one I saw that made me laugh, and this is, I have the utmost respect, and I've said this many, many times. Mike McDaniel's genius in creating play designs and the scheme is right near the top of why the Dolphin offense has been so good. But it was suggested by somebody on Twitter, like one of the reasons he signed with the Dolphins is he knew he'd had a coach who could maximize what he could do. Like if Casey offered him, like Andy Reid's not a genius like that, at creating things for players. I mean, come on, let's be honest.
And the other thing, to me, he's a piece, and I wrote a column about this in the Sun Sentinel on Sunday. He's a piece in their Plan B. Everybody knows Plan A of the Dolphin offense. It's Tyreek and Waddle and Tua getting the ball out quickly, and that worked, against two-thirds of the teams. Unfortunately, it didn't work against the top teams because the defenses took away that. That's what good defense. So this is to get to a Plan B, to give that option and a piece in that. It's not Plan B. Plan B, they bring in Jonnu Smith, the tight end. They drafted some younger receivers, slot receivers. And that to me is what the Dolphins offseason really, from Mike McDaniel's, playbook design. What's Plan B going to look like this offseason?
No, I agree, and I think I made the comment. I made the comment after they drafted Jalen Wright to add more speed at running back. That now this was my being a smart ass it's great. Now instead of beating Denver 70-20 in September, they're going to win 77-20. Now you had great. Now they're going to win 80-20. But does it make a big difference once you get to December? Once you play a good team, that's obviously going to be the big question. No.
There was an odd stat. Warren Sharp, who I know the Dolphins respect, put out saying the Dolphins were I think 30th ranked or 31st ranked as far as using 3 receivers on the field last year.
Okay.
Which told you what everybody knew by midseason that they really didn't have a third receiver that they trusted. And so again, my expectations for Odell Beckham aren't New York Giants Odell Beckham, and I think his headline, I keep a star-studded, receiving room. If they brought in any other receiver who had 3 touchdowns and 35 catches last year, everybody'd be saying, okay, that's maybe this will work out. And that's sort of where I'm at with Odell Beckham. You had to sign him for that money, and there's a potential upside here, but it's not electric like it once was.
No, correct. I agree. And this is where, again, and I saw, you go on social media and it's like best wide receiver trio in football history. And it's like, now. But hopefully we certainly can expect his contribution will be better than when they brought in another very big team.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Alan, that I'm sure Mike McDaniel is driving his car and there are plays running through his head of how to use this receiver set and when to use it, and so we'll see what I'm curious to see what the offense looks like with everybody talks he's a good route runner, so and we'll see what the offense looks like with him. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, I was told by somebody in Baltimore the speed's not there anymore, but still got great hands. No, the point I was going to make is I would tell Dolphin fans just come in with low expectations, and if he produces big numbers, it'll be great. But certainly, it would be nice if he produced more than when the Dolphins added Chris Carter during the 2002 season to come in and help out. If you remember that.
Yeah, that one didn't. For the Marino there at the end, right there, that didn't work out. Really.
No, Marino was gone. It was in 2002, at the end of the season.
Was it Jay Fiedler? Oh, okay, yeah.
Jay Fiedler, yeah, and it didn't work, and
okay.
The Dolphins continued their tailspin and wound up missing the playoffs, despite Ricky Williams leading the NFL in rushing yards. On the topic of wide receivers, Tyreek Hill appeared on the podcast just, I think, a couple of days ago, and always says things that are going to catch the attention of people. And this one was about he wants to retire with the Dolphins, loves it here. And then the other part that was interesting to me, he wants to play until the wheels fall off, which was a contradiction of what he said, I think, last year, maybe a year before that. No, I think it was last year where he said he's going to play until he finishes out the contract and then retire.
We all. You asked me when I'm going to retire, and my answer changes too. So I'm not going to hold. He's just having fun on podcasts, I think, right?
He what?
He's just having fun on podcasts.
Oh, absolutely. No, here's the big issue here, that he wants to retire with the Dolphins, which is great.
Oh, okay.
Except, and I've made this point several times, he's got no guaranteed money beyond this year. His current cap number for 2024 is $31 million, which is very high. For 2025, it's $34 million, which also is very, very high. And for 2026, it's $56 million, which is sure as hell not seeing in that form. So today, I think we have to accept the possibility that not only is it's a slam dunk that he's with the Dolphins beyond this season. No?
Well, I think when he signed the contract, that was, that's the first off ramp if the Dolphins want to take it, right? I mean, if they want to take, I haven't looked up dead money and all that stuff on his contract recently.
I can give it to you if you'd like. I can give it to you if you'd like.
Let's hear that. But
okay, go ahead. I'll tell you.
But look, if he produces like last year, and my question is actually, and I said this, I think I said on our last podcast, you need to put him to produce less next year to keep him healthy for December and January. The last 2 years he's been hurt in January because his plate's been so full. He's been the best player in the offense, the best receiver in the league. If he stays at that top, now from his point of view, look what receivers are starting to make now. The contracts are going up, up, up. So it's not just the Dolphins who will have a decision in some regard. He might too, as far as, hey, I want some more money. So, everything's so fluid at that. I'm curious to see. He turns 30 now.
Mm-hmm.
And not that 30 is a breaking point, but it's a point where the diminishing returns start to come in. And where do they start with Tyreek? You didn't see it last year at all. And I'm not expecting to see anything huge this year, but if you start looking 32, 33, where are we going?
No, correct. And you're gonna, if they wind up paying Waddle, is how much money are you allocating to the wide receiver position? The numbers on Tyreek. Next year, if they were to release him, it's 22 million of dead cap space, 11 million cap saving. If you make him a push to one cut, it would be 22 million in cap saving and 11 million in dead space. And now I'm not saying Tyreek is gone. I'm just saying the fact that they've restructured a lot of contracts this offseason to create cap space, back on a lot of those void years that certain members of the South Florida media love so much. But they didn't do anything with Tyreek's contract where they easily could have extended the lowest cap number and then add on a couple more years, and they didn't do that.
Well, they got an issue at the other receiver spot too. When you see Devontae Smith signed for $25 million with Philadelphia, and what the money's up to in prime receivers, and if Devontae Smith signed for $25 million, Jalen Waddle's going to want more. I mean, that's just the nature of the business. So, how much do you put into the position? And you can find cheap receivers in the third round who are stepping in and having great impact in the league. To be honest, I thought when they took two receivers, I know they were late round receivers, more slot receivers, but I thought that meant that they were out of the Odell Beckham sweepstakes. And then, of course, boom, he signed. So, I'm curious. That's five receivers right off the bat, and usually you carry six. The two rookies, Waddle, Hill, and Odell Beckham. So we're looking at a major change in the receiving room, and I wonder if they would have drafted two receivers if they were sure Odell Beckham was going to sign.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The timing of it was just kind of weird to me. It really wasn't anywhere near the magnitude of what happened in Atlanta with finding Cousins, and then you draft Penix. But it was kind of the same, not to the same magnitude, but kind of the same deal. Is the timing is just
I mean these are very late round. What 6th and 7th, I think, or no? Yeah.
6 and 7, yeah, correct. No, that makes a difference. Okay, the NFL schedule release is Thursday. Where do you sit? See, I like it because I want to know when are they playing what team, because it matters. It absolutely matters.
It matters to me for travel plans.
Yeah, of course.
That's why I care about the NFL. I care about me. Now, of course, it matters, especially you play in a division with New York, New England, and Buffalo, and are you going to get cold? All three of them in December and January, or what's the league going to do? So yes, it matters. Of course, it matters.
Okay, thank you. I mean, because there are some people like people doing it, and it does matter. And as you mentioned, with three AFC opponents in the Northeast, there's going to be one of those the game. And last year, it was actually Black Friday, and that day was actually pretty mild. And as I wrote for SI.com/NFL/Dolphins, Dolphins have never closed a season. 2010 is when they started ending every season with nothing but divisional games. Dolphins have never ended the best. Dolphins also have 3 consecutive regular season finales at home. So So I'm looking law of averages, and I'm smelling Miami and the New York Jets in Week 18. But I don't know. That's just me.
It's interesting. I talked to a TV executive once, and years ago, and he told me that the Dolphins game, and talking off the top of my head, I think it was against Buffalo. There's a snowstorm up there. Surprise, surprise. But late in the year, and to that point, they've done the practical thing where in the December the cold weather teams would play in Miami, and the warm weather, and the Dolphins would, because they thought, oh, it looks good on TV. Remember, TV decides a lot of this.
It
And
does.
but then all of a sudden they had a snowstorm, and everybody loved it. Everybody watched this Dolphin game playing in the snow, and it was beautiful. And so that changed their thinking of they want to get some late games, and it's not just Dolphins. They want some snow games for TV across the league.
No, that's fair. And I got to imagine too that especially the AFC teams at some point I got to talk to the league. I'd be shocked if that conversation has not taken place where they've talked to the league and say, "Don't stick us in that oven at Hard Rock Stadium every year. That's not fair."
That's the greatest home field advantage in all of sports.
Thank you.
That oven, as you called it, and architecturally, you don't think they purposely designed it so at a 1 o'clock kickoff the Dolphins are in the shade and the other team is in the sun for the next 3 hours? I mean, it is, like I said, the greatest home field advantage, better than the mile high air in Denver and everything, because teams roast in that.
Yep. And so I've had fights with Dolphin fans who will always combat that point with, well, what about the same thing as playing in Buffalo in December? The only difference there is the conditions are the same for both teams when you're playing in December in Buffalo, as opposed to Miami in September, where there's a 30-degree difference between the two sidelines.
And it's been that way. It's been that way forever. Go back to the Orange Bowl. There are stories of San Francisco came down here in the perfect season. Better check my schedule, but I think it was might not have been the perfect season, but that era, and played a game. And on the trip home, the 49ers team plane had to stop in Denver and refill IVs for their players because so many of them were dehydrated. And there are anecdotal stories through the years, and it only seems exacerbated now by the architecture. But I think honestly, I think at some point the league has to say this is a health concern, because you talk to other players, opposing players, and they say we never played in heat like that.
No, it's completely crazy. And again, if you've lived in South Florida long enough and you've been out in the sun and even tried to play sports in the summer, I mean, that thing becomes on you and you will get tired, and I mean fast.
So that's why the schedule does matter. I agree. I always look just for that. Home games in September and October, 1 o'clock games. How many? And the cold weather games.
And I think it behooves the Dolphins. It helps the Dolphins if they get Buffalo at home in September, even if it means playing in Buffalo in December. I think they have a bigger advantage for their home game than Buffalo does for theirs. So I think that's something they absolutely should want. Report from ESPN this weekend. I don't know that there was anything that much different about contract negotiations with Tua, about the ramp up. Nothing imminent. Do you see a scenario where this doesn't get done before the start of the regular season?
I would be surprised if it's not done now, and they're just waiting till what, post June 1st, and when it can be announced in proper fashion to do everything. I would imagine they're just sweeping up the details at this point, to be honest with you. The way I hear them talking, the way, Tua talked at his convention, that, things are good. Everybody seems very sure that it's going to get done. So if it's not done, it's the parameters are agreed on, and they're hammering out the details.
One more thing. The only thing there, though, is depending on how the contract is structured, but he's on the books right now. He counts $23.2 million against the cap. If they go the route of lower first-year number and then higher second, third, fourth year number, then they don't have to wait till June 1st to do it. It could be they'd rather spread it out more and then use some of that June 1st Xavier Howard money. Who
Well,
knows?
and he's not the only deal that's. I don't think he's the tough deal. I mean, they got a. You look at the rookies, not guys on rookies deals starting to line up, and there's a line outside Chris Greer's office. And I think those are the hard. And how do you, how do you combine them with the Tua deal? How do you make it all work best for your salary cap? I think that's the off season, off season game being played right now in the business office.
So now that they've signed Beckham, we're going to wrap it up with this. Now that they've signed Beckham, is it Super Bowl or bust?
I don't think. Look, like I said, I think Beckham's a piece of Plan B. He's not this great, impactful player who's going to come in and change the offense. He's going to help the offense, but no, I was saying, wow, that now they have the greatest. Somebody put out there. Now they have the best roster that they've had. Now that they got Beckham, I just don't see him. Again, I think it's a smart signing. It's a thing you do for the role they need and the price they got. You do it every time. But is this something that's going to change this whole offense? No, it'll help the offense, and that's fine. That's what he's here to do.
No, I agree, and it's actually interesting because I saw like the 33rd team, the think tank with Mike Tannenbaum, and then former NFL execs and all types of people like that. Some former players. I saw a graphic from theirs where they predicted the AFC East, and they had the Dolphins in 4th place at 7-10, and it was like, whoa. And then Sports Illustrated national writer Connor Orr did his power ranking, and he had the Dolphins at 25, and he prefaced his comment by saying, "I'm sure I'm going to hear it from Dolphin fans," and it's like, wow. I'm actually shocked that there's that kind of even perception out there that it could go south like this.
I don't think it'll go south like 25th in the league, but I think they've taken a step, whether it's a baby step or whatever, back from last year. And can they? I'm talking talent wise in the offseason. Now, can strategically, as I said, with this Plan B on offense that I call it, can that make them better? You'd hope. Can they get a couple veterans coming up to plug a couple holes, defensive tackle, offensive guard, safety? Yeah, we'll have to see. We're not there to the finish line of the offseason yet. So, but right now, talent-wise, I think they've taken a step back.
I think that's going to wrap it up. Dave, as mentioned earlier, covered the Pat Riley season-ending press conference for the Miami Heat, the postmortem of the Miami Heat, Monday afternoon.
He talked, I think, 50 minutes, took questions till they ran out. I love that. I love how when leaders lead that way, and I get talking to the media is a small part of being a leader, but that tells me he grasps understanding of the job and he addresses issues. And it's not after 10 minutes we're looking for the door the way some pro sports teams operate these days.
Most of them, actually. I mean, to go 50 minutes is
many of them.
Yeah, major hat tip to Pat Riley for that. And then later on, you're also going to be covering and writing about the Florida Panthers as they begin round 2 of the playoffs against the hated Boston Bruins, who outlasted the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 7 in overtime. Quick prediction, Dave?
I think the Panthers. I would say Panthers in 6. I'll say the only way they don't win is if Jeremy Swayman, the Bruins goalie, stands on his head, as they say in hockey, which is bizarre. Maybe you know the origin of that expression, Alan. You're from Montreal.
I don't. I played hockey all my life. I never understood exactly what it means. And that's the thing. That's the fickle nature of hockey playoffs. Is you get hot goalie can steal a series even if your team is outplayed for the duration. So I think the Panthers actually do have the better team, but it's you can make a case for Boston winning. That'll do it. Dave, again, thank you very much for your time. And everybody, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, download, share, all of that good stuff. and we'll catch you again on Tuesday. Thanks, everyone.